The whole thing starts with the prelude to Rheingold. The orchestra play the chord of E flat major for about 6 minutes. There's nothing too much I need to tell you about this. If you know the chord of E flat major, you know the prelude to Rheingold. Well then, the scene opens in the river Rhine, in it. And swimming around there are the 3 Rhine maidens, or nixies. They are a sort of an aquatic Andrew sisters. And they sing their theme, which is as follows. Fire, baga, boogie, do vele, vale, subike, baga, fire, la, fire, la, fire. I won't translate it because it doesn't mean a thing. But these Rhine maidens are looking after a lump of magic gold. And the magic of this gold consists of the fact that anybody who will renounce love and make a ring out of the gold can become master of the universe. This is the gimmick. Now up from underneath the Rhine all of a sudden there comes a little dwarf called Alberic. Here he is. Ach, die glatte Glimmer, wie gleich das aus. Mit Händen und Füßen, ich fasse noch Kälte, das schlecktige Schlupfer, feuchte Nas fühlt wie die Nase. Well, as you can plainly see, he's exceedingly unattractive. And he makes a pass at the Rhine maidens, who think he's absolutely revolting. So the Rhine maidens tell him, Pfui, du Vater, hoffnender Deck, schwarze Spiele, schwere Zwerge. So Albrecht thinks, what? Thinks I'm obviously not going to get any love here, so I may as well renounce it and take this magic gold and make this ring and become master of the universe. So he steals the gold and he takes it down under the Rhine with him. And here he is making the ring. 24-hour shifts. Haven't been unionized yet. And he finally makes the ring, and here is the leitmotif of the ring. I'd like you to remember that, because you'll be amazed where this ring is going to get to before we're through with all this business. Well, there's Albrecht down there with the ring, and the Rhine maidens are swimming around at sea level. And up here, you see, this is a vertical opera. Up here we have Wotan, the head god, and a perfectly crashing ball. Well, he and his wife, Mrs. Frika Wotan, that's her name, have had a castle built for them called Valhalla. The second story. The dome on the top. This is a sort of a celestial White House. And it's been built by a couple of giants called Fasolt and Fafnir. Well, naturally, these giants wish to be rewarded for building this edifice. And what they wish to be rewarded with is Freya, Well, now, Freya is Wotan's sister-in-law and a perfectly beautiful girl. She's yummy. And she's currently looking after the Valhalla branch of Elizabeth Arden. So when the giants take her away, of course, there's no beauty parlour. So Mrs. Wotan starts to look frightfully scruffy. And since she's a most frightful nag, she nags and nags Wotan to bring her back again, which he does. Well, the only other thing the giants will settle for building this edifice is this magic ring that Alberic has just made. So Wotan goes all the way down from Valhalla to where Alberic is and cons him out of the ring. Well, naturally, Alberic is simply furious. So he puts a terrible curse on the ring. That's the wrong curse, isn't it? That's the one. But Wotan takes no notice. He takes the ring right back up to Valhalla and gives it to Fasolt. Well, directly, Fafnir kills Fasolt to get the ring for himself. So Wotan now knows that this curse is working. And it worries him. So he goes down to Earth level to discuss with a friend of his, with a fortune teller he knows, called my friend Erda. She is a green-faced torso that pops out of the ground. At least we think she's a torso because this is as far as she ever gets out. And she says, Vaike Wotan, Vaike, which means be careful, Wotan, be careful. She then proceeds to bear him 8 daughters. So she should have been careful. These daughters are the Valkyries, headed by Brunhilda. And they are the noisiest women. Libretto that they are all of them virgins. I'm not the least bit surprised. Well, recently somebody said, you know, you're wrong there. There were 9 Valkyries, and actually there were, but you see, Brunhilda came slightly differently from the other lot. She sprang fully accoutred in chain mail and winged helmet out of Wotan's head. course, is parthenogenesis. And another story entirely. And that is the end of part 1. Well, in part 2, you find Wotan wandering around on the earth. And he has 2 illegitimate children, Siegmund and Sieglinde, by a mortal. Oh, he's very versatile. When he has these children by this mortal, whilst disguised under the singularly appropriate name of Wolf. But these children get separated when young, and Sieglinde marries a rather disagreeable fellow called Hunding, who plays the French horn. And in addition to this occupation, he has an ash tree with a sword stuck in it, growing through his living room floor. He's terribly house and garden. Well, who should come along but Siegmund, and he falls madly in love with Sieglinde, regardless of the fact that she's married to Hunding, which is immoral, and she's his own sister, which is illegal. But that, of course, is the great beauty of grand opera. You can do anything. So long as you sing it. And they certainly do sing it. Wintersturme wischen den Bornermond, in mildem Lichter leuchtet der Lenz. Du bist der Lenz, nachdem ich verlornste, in frostiger Wind verspriest. But when they get a lot of that off their chests, Siegmund pulls out the sword that's stuck in the tree that grows in the house that Jack built, that Hunding built, and they run away together. Well, of course, when Hunding comes to, because they gave him a Mickey Finn, you see, so they wouldn't wake up. Well, when Hunding comes to, he's frightfully annoyed, and he chases after them, and there's a tremendous battle in which everybody seems to become involved. Siegmund kills Hunding. Hunding kills Siegmund. Mr. and Mrs. Wotan get in a most frantic argument, the outcome of which is that Wotan gets mad at Brunhilde. You see, Mrs. Wotan told Wotan to tell Brunhilde she was not to side with Siegmund, and she did. But the reason she did was that Sieglinde is going to have Siegmund's child. Don't know how she knew, they only met last night. But anyway, that's what she said. So, as a punishment to Brunhilde, although I don't see how it could be her fault, you never know in the ring. Well, as a punishment, Wotan puts Brunhilde on a rock, then he nags her into a coma, and he surrounds the rock with impenetrable fire. And that's the end of part 2. Well, part 3 is devoted to the growing up of Siegfried, this child. So you see, sure enough. And he's very young, and he's very strong, and he's very brave, and he's very handsome, and he's very stupid. He's a regular little Abner type. But there's not too much you need know about this part, except that Siegfried gets the ring by killing Fafner. Do you remember Fafner? Do you remember he built Valhalla? A giant? Well, he's a dragon now. Don't ask me why. Anyway, he's dead. And Siegfried now has the ring. Well, then a little bird comes. And this little bird tells Siegfried, who understands him, guess how? Because he tasted a drop of Fafner's blood. Made him understand the bird. I won't go into it, we'll be back in Dracula. Well, anyway, this little bird tells Siegfried about Brunhilde on the fire-surrounded rock. So he somehow goes and he gets through this impenetrable fire, and he sees Brunhilde lying there and makes the classic understatement of all time. He says, "This is no man." Have you seen the average Brunhilde? Never seen a woman in his life, so he doesn't know what she is. He jolly soon finds out. And they go in for some very competitive singing. Anything you can sing, I can sing louder. And they get through this, and it's a dead heat, and then they fall passionately in love. And guess what Siegfried gives Brunhilde? Right. You're right, the ring. You know, they don't know each other that well yet, dear. You see, the ring, that shows intent. Oh, by the way, she's his aunt. Everybody's happy, so you'd think, wouldn't you, that that would be the end of the whole thing. You'd think. No fear. Part 4. Götterdämmerung. Well, in the beginning of Götterdämmerung, you get the 3 Norns or Fates. And they are also daughters of my friend Urda, the green-faced torso. And by the same token, also presumably Siegfried's aunts. But this bunch of aunts are just as dismal as the Valkyrie aunts were noisy. Well, if this dismal bunch of aunts don't go and retell this entire story right over again from the beginning. That is, of course, in case you couldn't hear it the first time. As a matter of fact, you could miss out parts 1, 2, and 3 and go in at the beginning of Götterdämmerung, and you'd be just about as far ahead as anyone else is. Well, meantime, Siegfried is fed up with love on the rocks with Brunhilde. And Brunhilde's gone completely to pieces, because if you remember, she used to be the... Well, now she's changed to this. So love has certainly taken the ginger out of her. Siegfried goes off on his travels once more, and he meets 3 people, the family Gibischung. There's Gunther and Gutrune Gibitsch, and their half-brother Hagen, whose mother was a Gibitsch. But whose father was Alberic the dwarf. Do you remember Alberic? Well, Hagen greets Siegfried like this. Well, now, do you recognize that tune of Hagen's greeting? Anyone? That's right. It's the same music as Alberic's curse. And sure enough, there's dirty work afoot. Because Hagen gives Siegfried, what does he give him? Gives Siegfried a magic potion which makes him forget all about Brunhilde and fall in love with Gutrune Gibitsch. Who, by the way, is the only woman that Siegfried has ever met in his entire life who wasn't his aunt. You know, I'm not making this up. Well, when Brunhilde discovers what's going on, she's frightfully annoyed, so she conspires with Hagen that he shall kill Siegfried for revenge, which he does. Well, of course, as soon as Siegfried's dead, Brunhilde's sorry. So, they build a funeral pyre, and they put Siegfried on it. Then Brunhilde goes and gets on her horse. She's got a horse. And they gallop onto the funeral pyre. So now you have Siegfried, Brunhilde, and the horse. And they light it, and that bunch burn up. That sets fire to Valhalla, and it burns up. No doubt all the gods are inside, so they burn up. And sets fire to everything, and the whole works burns up. And so, the River Rhine, which possibly some of you may still recall, well, the River Rhine rises and the waters come all in over all this burnt stuff, and who do you suppose turns up next? Ah, the Rhine thing. Doesn't it kill you? Well, they go scratching about in all this burnt stuff, and they find the ring. it's their original magic gold. So they put the ring back on the rock in the Rhine where it came from. And so, after sitting through this whole long, involved rigmarole for 4 entire evenings, at those prices, all of a sudden, what do you hear? You're exactly where you came in 20 hours ago.